Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Daniel C. Potts, a neurologist in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a national advocate for the cognitively impaired through the American Academy of Neurology's Palatucci Advocacy Program, and an Alzheimer's caregiver. It's my pleasure to talk to you today and share with you a story of hope in the midst of suffering. My father, Lester Eugene Potts, Jr., grew up in rural Alabama. He was born in 1928, and he grew up in the midst of the Great Depression, working on a sawmill and a farm. This experience taught him the value of hard work, of keeping one's word, and of loving those around you. Lester knew everyone as his brother and sister, no matter what their life circumstances. And he lived life in such a way as to be emulated by all of those who knew him. He was a wonderful father. Unfortunately, shortly after retirement at the age of 70, Lester began to show the earliest signs of Alzheimer's disease and subsequently experienced a very rapid downhill decline. Dad's decline was characterized strongly by loss of language function, short-term memory loss, and what we neurologists call apraxia, which is the loss of ability to perform motor activities and activities of daily living, even though one knows how to do them. Of course, Dad's losses were devastating to all of us. I certainly was devastated as a neurologist and as an only son, because I did not recognize Dad's affliction early enough. Once Dad received his diagnosis, he was a broken man. He could no longer put a sentence together. He could no longer put lights on the Christmas tree, and he could no longer hammer a nail. He was so good with his hands and was a very crafty man. Fortunately, Dad was able to enroll in a dementia daycare center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, called Caring Days. Caring Days is the longest running center of its kind in the state of Alabama and is now a national model for this kind of dementia care. Caring Days was the brainchild of First Presbyterian Church and was begun as a mission outreach of that church and other like-minded individuals. But now it is supported by 19 churches and synagogues in our area. Caring Days is seeking to be a mission to the community to improve quality of life for dementia patients still living at home and for their caregivers. Dad enrolled at this place, and he was immediately surrounded by loving care and exposed to such therapies as art therapy, music therapy, drama therapy, reminiscence therapy, etc. Dad immediately improved. Not only did he improve in terms of attention, his cognition also improved. His activities of daily living improved. And my mother, the primary caregiver, was granted respite because of it. Art transformed Lester Potts. A utilitarian child of the Great Depression, Lester had never been an appreciator of art or someone who we knew had artistic talent. But when exposed to such therapy, Dad's talent showed. He became a nationally, in fact internationally recognized watercolor artist in the throes of dementia at a time when he could no longer hammer a nail. Our story is now a story of hope. It's a story of hope about the power of art in all of its forms: music, visual art, drama, poetry, reminiscence therapy, and storytelling, to heal an individual. It's a story of the power of effective caregiving which validates the human being, which appreciates the inner talent that is still left in a human who is broken through cognitive impairment. It's caregiving in which individuals are loved the way they are, even though they may be shells of themselves as we once knew them. We are now so convinced that the power of art can heal and that this method of caregiving can be effective, that we have granted that we have formed a foundation called Cognitive Dynamics, which supports the arts to improve quality of life in the cognitively impaired and their caregivers, and a company called Dementia Dynamics, which is a dementia education company for lay and professional caregivers to effectively teach caregiving techniques that validate the patient and that seek to control adverse behaviors. Dad's story is so powerful that we created a book called The Broken Jar, in which Dad's watercolors and my poetry are showcased. Watercolors such as this and this, from a broken man, serve as a source of hope to those who are similarly afflicted. Will you join us in this cause to improve the quality of life for the cognitively impaired across our land and across the world, to validate them as individuals through the power of arts and effective caregiving, and to give respite to their caregivers? Thank you for listening today.